JavaScript, originally called LiveScript, was developed by Brendan Eich at Netscape in 1995. JavaScript is a scripting language that adds interactivity to static HTML pages. It runs on most platforms and is hardware independent. JavaScript is a client-side language designed to work on your machine, not the server. It's built directly into the browser, such as Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, Opera, and Safari. In syntax, JavaScript is similar to C, Perl, and Java. If statements and while and for loops are almost identical. Like Perl, it's an interpreted language, not a compiled language. When the page loads, HTML content is read first. Then the JavaScript opening tag is read, and JavaScript interpreter takes over. When the closing JavaScript tag is reached, the HTML processing continues. JavaScript programs are executed by a JavaScript interpreter, normally built right into the browser. When the browser requests such a page, the server sends the full content of the document, including HTML and JavaScript statements, over the network to the client. AJAX stands for Asynchronous JavaScript in XML, and is a technique used to create fast interactivity without having to wait for response from the server. AJAX lets you send data back and forth between the browser and server without waiting for the whole page to reload. Only parts of the page that change are replaced. In fact, several requests can be run while you're scrolling, zooming, etc., as those other parts are loaded in the background. The best example may be Google Maps at maps.google.com. You can zoom in, zoom out, and move around the map, get directions from one point to another, view the location's terrain, traffic, satellite picture, etc. A complete web page consists of 3 separate layers: content or structural layer, HTML, style or presentation layer, CSS, behavioral layer, JavaScript. Each of these layers requires careful planning and skill. Designers are not necessarily programmers and vice versa. Separating the layers allows a designer to concentrate on the part he's good at, while the programmer can tweak the code in the JavaScript application without messing up the design. Since each browser has its own interpreter, there are often differences on how the code will be executed. And as all of the companies improve and modify their browsers, new inconsistencies may occur. There are not only different types of browsers to cause the incompatibilities, but also different versions of the same browser. Since modern browsers conform to the W3C standards, these inconsistencies tend to be less of a distraction as they were in the past. Popular browsers today are Internet Explorer, Chrome, Opera, Firefox, and Safari. Simple JavaScript programs are not difficult to create. In fact, all you need to begin with is a basic text editor program, such as Microsoft Word, WordPad, or even the simplest of all text editors, Notepad. To test your JavaScript programs, you'll need to have a web browser such as Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Because JavaScript allows you to add interactivity and dynamic properties to your web page and does not require any special tools for programming, it's become a very popular web programming tool. In the course of this tutorial, we'll be using Notepad. We've chosen Notepad as to not have to worry about Word or WordPad's autocorrect tool. In the course of this tutorial, we'll be using Notepad. We've chosen Notepad as to not have to worry about Word or WordPad's autocorrect tool. Autocorrect is a useful tool when we're typing documents where spelling and punctuation are important. When programming, however, there are constantly lines of information that may be interpreted by the autocorrect tool as incorrect or improper. In order to ignore the corrections the autocorrect tool tries to make, we've decided to use a simple text editor. In Notepad, type the following lines of code as shown on screen. Save the file by going to File, Save As. Name this file test.html. Place the file on the desktop, then click Save. It's important to save this file with the extension .html. Otherwise, your file will not be interpreted by the browser as a web document. We have also suggested that you save this file to the desktop in a local location so that you can easily locate it in the future. This is not required, and you may actually save it to any location you desire. Reopen the file named test on your desktop by double-clicking on its icon. By doing so, you're opening and testing the file locally. The file test.html should now open itself in a browser environment. You'll notice a dialog box has appeared. If the dialog box appears, such as the one shown on screen, then you've successfully created your first JavaScript program. Now let's see how this was done. Click back on the Notepad file named test.html so we can examine the code more thoroughly. In test.html, notice that the file begins with the HTML and body tags. These opening tags are the most common tags that you'll see on any HTML page. Although we're not discussing HTML in this tutorial, it's important to know that since we're working with browsers and trying to create readable files on the internet, HTML is a necessary part of the set of tools we'll be using. HTML Hypertext Markup Language is the protocol used to create web pages. Even though we're not teaching HTML in this tutorial, it's necessary that we incorporate some of its ideas in order for us to create web pages using JavaScript. Now let's take a look at the body of our program as shown on screen. We'll explain each line in the upcoming frames. The first line, script type equals text/JavaScript, suggests that this web document contains code in both HTML and JavaScript. The next line, alert, hello world, uses the alert method which displays a dialog box with the message you pass into it. Use the alert method whenever you wish to display a message. The user then reads the message and clicks OK to dismiss the dialog box. The syntax for the alert method is as follows: alert, value, where value is a string of characters you want to display in the alert box. The last line, /script, is a closing tag for the script type equals text/JavaScript line. Let's examine how JavaScript programs really work. Typically, JavaScript is contained in the HTML document fetched from a server computer on the web and is executed by the browser, either as a document is loading or after it's been loaded. This type of JavaScript is called client-side. In a client-side program, the web server is not involved in the execution of the JavaScript program on your computer. On a server-side program, however, the JavaScript program will run on the web server of your computer. Such JavaScript programs typically act as a software control. For example, the program might process a form submitted by the user and search through a large database contained on the server.